The St. Louis Cardinals season has taken a turn for the better, and it all goes back to a game that happened in Milwaukee where the team and its coaching staff finally showed some emotion.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffern, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X, at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So baseball is a crazy game, man. Baseball is a crazy game. Here we are just, 10 days ago? 10 days ago, something like that? Watching the Cardinals lose their 7th game in a row. They lost 2 at home to the White Sox, who had just gotten swept by the Twins, but are 7-9 since playing the Cardinals and took 3 or 4 from the AL Central leading Guardians. So those losses, at the time, they seemed just awful. Like, oh my gosh, we're losing to the White Sox. But now, I guess, not quite as bad as we once thought they were. But, it's still the White Sox, though, right? It's still the White Sox. Everyone is supposed to beat the White Sox in 2024. Then the Cardinals lose 2 at home against the Mets by the scores of 4-3, 7-5. They lose Wilson Contreras to a broken arm. They get rained out in that 3rd game mercifully because I don't even know what was going to show up in that game. And then they drop 3 in a row against the NL Central leading Milwaukee Brewers. And at this point, the sky has fallen, right? Like, this season is toast. Like, we're not going anywhere. The team looks lost. They can't hit. The pitching is starting to falter a bit. There's genuinely nothing to be positive about anymore. People want other people to be fired. Fans are done showing up. People are quitting on the franchise. It was like a horrible time. It was this weird Twilight Zone area where, it was hard to even recognize what was going on with the St. Louis Cardinals. Is this the franchise that we all grew up with and have loved and bled with for years and years and years? Sure didn't look like them, did it? It just felt like we were watching something else. Like, we're like, what is this product that is being put out on the field? What are we seeing anymore? And it was a horrible time for fans. It was, frankly, as someone who covers the team, not a lot of fun to cover them either. Nobody wants to cover a losing team. It's not fun. And we were tired of hearing the same things over and over, right? Like, when this hitting gets going, they're going to be fine. Or we ask that you show a little patience. It's early. We were tired of that. I'm sure there's like 50 more that were said that made us just want to ram our heads through a plate glass window. But we were sick of it. Nothing was working. We're going in the wrong direction. This looks like it's going to be another failure, right? But then in that last game against the Brewers, on Mother's Day, if you remember, Cards are down 3-1. Looks like we're heading for their 8th straight loss in a row. And we saw manager Ollie Marmol and bench coach Daniel Descalso finally snap. They finally snapped after the first base umpire blew 2 calls in the first 3 innings that the Cardinals then had to challenge and get overturned to the correct call, mind you. Like, he got them both wrong. Cardinals had to challenge. They get overturned, so they got the calls right, which is the point of review. But at the same time, they'd had enough, man. They were like, dude, what? They were so frustrated. Not only did the team stink at the time, but now the umpires are making terrible calls on just routine plays. And it finally boiled over, and both of them got ejected by home plate umpire Alan Porter, who, was sticking up for his first base umpire, was sticking up for his partner, saying, look, you got the calls right. We got it right, but it was just one of those points that where they'd had enough. And it was one of the more heated arguments you'll see between a manager and an umpire anymore, because normally the umps will turn away and have their crew chief come over and kind of be the bouncer and get in the way, which I think is so lame. A lot like what we just saw on Wednesday, right? In game 2 against the Orioles, which we'll talk about later. But the fans loved it. Finally, I know I loved it. Finally, some emotion from manager Ali Marmol. Very laid-back guy, keeps his cool, doesn't really snap all that often, even though everything that was going on in this season gave him the reason to snap, because there were so many things that were going wrong. Finally, someone, pardon my French, got pissed off, like the fans have been, and let someone else have it and took out his aggression on that umpire. I myself, sometimes, I know I look calm, cool, collective, and laid back on the show. Sometimes I got to blow off some steam. I listen to, some of my favorite metal bands like Slipknot and Mudvayne at excessive volumes and scream a little bit to keep my sanity during this little thing we call life. And it was great to see these guys finally crack and just let go for once. There's a part about the Cardinal way where, stay professional, stay patient, everything's going to be fine. But at some point, you got to be human and you just got to let it go. Unleash the fury. And it felt good. It felt good for all of us. And I think it was a shot in the arm that the team needed. It got the blood flowing again in the dugout. And lo and behold, the Cardinals end up coming back in that game, and they end up winning by the score of 4-3. Goldie's bat starts to come to life in that one. The legend of Michael Babe Ruth Ciani begins. Remember, he hits that one that we thought was a home run, but it went off the top of the wall. But that's when his offense started to show up a little bit more. And since that time and since that game, the Cardinals have been a different team in most games. They're not perfect by any means. They take 2 of 3 from the Angels. They take 2 of 3 from the Boston Red Sox. And although they couldn't complete the sweeps in either of those series, they lose in the final games. They lose like embarrassing fashion, like in blowouts, like they weren't even close games. You could still see, though, there was momentum building for this team. The confidence appeared to be growing for this team. And I said it before, in my opinion, this 9-game homestand that started with Boston was going to be kind of a make or break type of stretch for this team because of the level of competition they're playing and where it might push them in the standings. You had to play a decent Boston team who had a very good pitching staff, a great Orioles team. And then you've got your arch rival in the Chicago Cubs, who are having an excellent season so far. This could go really, really bad and be something that buries them, or it could be something that the Cardinals could build upon. And what did the Cardinals do? Surprising a lot of people out there, they went out there and not only competed with the Orioles, but they friggin' swept them. They swept the Orioles. Something that hadn't been done in a long, long time. 106 consecutive regular season series. Like they were shooting for like a major league record. And the Cardinals said, not on our watch. And it's got the fans starting to believe in them a little bit. So coming up, we're going to break down Wednesday's action because there was a whole lot to unpack. I want to get into the balls and strikes calls, the arguments. I want to get into that crazy Brendan Donovan play, the Lars Nootbaar catch at the end of game 3. Like, I'm going to get into all of it. Plus, we got some fan feedback to get to coming up on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals. Baseball season is in full swing, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first-inning runs, you can take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. Now, testing my skills on PrizePicks this baseball season, most exciting way for me to play daily fantasy sports. And it should be for you, too, being that you're watching or listening to a baseball podcast. I feel like you know what you're talking about when it comes to baseball. So if you've got the skills, you can turn a measly little $10 Turn that into $100 in just a few taps. Now, Thursday's action, I got my eye on that Juan Soto guy. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Plays in New York. Plays for a team called the Yankees. My goodness, he's on a tear right now. He's one of the more popular names that people are going with for more or less as a hitter for the hitter fantasy score, which he's got at 7.5 on PrizePicks. Now, that's what's kind of cool about this app is you go there and it'll show you the popular picks that a lot of people are betting on. And, maybe you're feeling a little uncomfortable about your own choices. You can go there and see, okay, guys are starting to put bets on this. Maybe I should go in that direction. His teammate, Aaron Judge, also at 7.5. Yankees are taking on Seattle ace Luis Castillo. So, good pitcher. Is he going to get there? Is he going to get to 7.5? More or less, you decide. And you got to love how quick and simple it is to play on PrizePicks. I can make my pick, submit my entry, do it all in less than 60 seconds. And when you win, you get paid quickly too. So download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for that first deposit match up to $100. Don't miss out on your chance to cash in on your sports knowledge. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Are you watching the Fox Sports channels or ESPN channels? You're doing that stuff all day on TV, and then you got to turn things down because they keep yelling at each other the whole time. Like, it happens all the time. It's infuriating. Well, then make the switch to Locked On Sports today where you don't have to put up with that stuff. It's free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of the screaming. It brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast with Sirius XM. Just download the SXM app. Search that word Cardinals to get hooked up there. Cubs in town this week, and going to be a big one. And thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Again, we're going to get to some fan feedback a little bit later in this show because I want you to know how people are feeling. People hit me up with all sorts of feelings. Some are angry, some are happy, some are sad, some are mad. Like it's all over the place. But we'll get to that a little bit later. So get your feedback to me. That way you can be a part of the show. So let's get to the gameplay, right? After the gutsy performance on Monday by Sonny Gray, who was cruising, and then he has this really tough inning, brings himself out of the game, basically says, look, I'm toast. I trust my teammates to get us out of trouble, and it works. You get that excellent work by the bullpen. Cardinals took game one. Now we go on to game two on Tuesday. We had that pitcher's duel going, right? Lance Lynn looked pretty darn good, and then the skies opened up over Busch Stadium, and it forced the postponement until Wednesday morning. Now, one thing that worked in the Cardinals' favor was that it gave their bullpen an extra few hours of rest. Not exactly a full day of rest. I mean, I guess kind of mathematically 24 hours, but a few more hours of rest, which became important for the conclusion of game two because the Trinity was needed once again. But before they could make their impact on the game, the Cardinals needed to go out and get a lead first, right? And with 2 out in the 6th inning, rookie catcher Ivan Herrera, who continues to impress at the plate, he works a walk, 2-out walk, which extends the inning to Nolan Gorman. Now, it's no secret, Nolan Gorman having a tough year. Let's be honest. He's having a terrible start to the year. Like, not a whole lot has gone right with Nolan Gorman so far on the offensive side of things. He's been one of the worst hitting second basemen in the league. I've thrown those stats out to you. You can't ignore it. It's been rough. So what do the O's do? They do the smart thing. They bring in a left-hander, to face him, which this year, normally works like a charm. It usually works like a charm. No problems whatsoever. But not this time. Not this time. Instead, Gorman rips a 2-run shot into the Cardinals bullpen. 103.9 off the bat. 407 feet away from home plate. Actually caught by reliever Andrew Kittredge, who was warming up in the bullpen already. And it gave the Cardinals a 3-1 lead, which they'd hang on to take game two. And they win the series. They have just knocked off the Baltimore Orioles. Lance Lynn gets the win, his second of the year. Kittredge works an inning and a third scoreless innings. Romero gets 2 hitters, and then Helsley shuts it down for his league-leading 15th save of the season. Now, the question was, were these guys going to be available in Game 3 if they were needed? because a lot of people have accused the Cardinals of maybe throwing out the B squad in game 3 of these series. When they have a chance to sweep, they kind of put out some other guys who maybe shouldn't be starting, and that takes away from their opportunities to complete a sweep, and that's why their record on Sundays has been so horrible. And the Cardinals, let's be honest, have had a really tough time. If Kittredge, Romero, or Helsley don't get into the game, they don't usually win all that often. So we'll see, right? If that opportunity pops up, will Ollie go to the pen? Well, we'll find out later in game 3. Now, Gorman ends up driving in all 3 Cardinals runs in that game too. And it was awesome. Like, it didn't take long for the Cardinals to just, boom, take the victory and move on to the regularly scheduled game where Mother Nature would once again get involved, and another rejection of manager Ollie Marmol would be a big part of this. So in game 3, Cardinals fall behind 3-0, and it was their defense that was the culprit again. Similar to Monday night. Remember, it was Mason Wynn who had the issues in the one inning that got Sonny into trouble. This time it was Mr. Platinum Award winner Nolan Arenado, who just had a tough top of the 3rd inning. It happens. Ramon Urias hits a liner to 3rd, and it short hops Nato, safe at first. Ruled a single, but we all know Nato picks that play 99% of the time. He'll tell you, I should have had that one, but it is a single. We're not going to bash on him too bad there. It is Nolan Arenado, pretty darn good. Your next hitter is James McCann. He hits a routine ground ball to Nato's left, has to go to his left a little bit, fields it cleanly, but during the transfer to his throwing hand, he bobbles it as he tries to turn a double play, and then everyone is safe. So now you're in trouble. Instead of empty bases, 2 out, now you got 1st and 2nd, nobody out in the top of the order coming up. And, the Orioles have a very good lineup. And as good teams normally do, the O's capitalize. Gunnar Henderson, who burned Sonny Gray with the home run on Monday night, got that dinger after the Mason Wynn errors. Hits an RBI single to center, gives them a 1-0 lead. Michael Ciani makes the throw to 3rd base. Probably not smart. Got to hit your cutoff man there. That allows Henderson to take 2nd base, and now you got 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. Kyle Gibson then comes up big. It's Adley Rutschman to strike out. But then Ryan O'Hearn grounds out over to 2nd base. That scores a run. And now you get a 2-out single by Anthony Santander. That scores a 3rd run. Simple stuff. Just simple stuff leading to a big inning for Baltimore. And then in the bottom of the 3rd inning, that's when the fireworks begin, right? Lars Nootbaar comes up with a man on. And if you remember, Lars Nootbaar got ejected the previous night. Early on, 1st inning, he gets thrown out for arguing balls and strikes. And he's already a bit fed up with how umpires have been calling things against him this year. I saw a stat where he was one of the top, if not the top player in Major League Baseball who gets strikes called against him that are not strikes, like something ridiculous. And there was a reel of footage of Nootbaar getting strikes called against him that weren't strikes. And I retweeted that for you if you guys want to check it out on Twitter X. But anyway, so Lars is already kind of fed up with everything. He's pissed off about what happened the previous night. Didn't get to play pretty much the entire game with the team. And now here he is, game 3. And Newt gets not 1, not 2, but 3 pitches. 3. Well outside the strike zone. Called strikes. Like, what? Now I'm showing the graphic up on the page at YouTube right now. Here you go. There you go. Look, all 3 of them. Home plate umpire Charlie Ramos, who, shocker, one of the least accurate umpires in the league, calls all 3 of those on the outside. Like, look at that. All 3 of them, he calls them strikes. Angel Hernandez, we know, gets all the headlines as far as the umpires go, but Ramos actually has worse accuracy numbers than Hernandez, if that tells you anything. Only 7 other Major League umpires are less accurate than Charlie Ramos, who in this at-bat put on a display of suckiness as an umpire. Just awful calls. And like I said, you can see him here on YouTube and on Twitter. And Newt, not wanting to get tossed again, he just turns around, points, walking back to the dugout and throws up the number 3, puts up 3 fingers, and he's like, all 3 of them are balls. Doesn't say anything to the umpires again, doesn't want to get tossed again. And instead, Ollie, as soon as he gets word that all 3 of them were outside of the zone, he starts letting Ramos hear about it, and he gets tossed instead. And the stuff that drives me nuts about this is that the home plate umpire made these calls. Ollie Marmol wants to speak with the home plate umpire and talk to him about why these particular pitches were called strikes. But the crew chief, Laz Diaz, has to get in the way like right away. Like he comes hustling in to like be the bouncer again, to get in the middle of it, to keep Ollie from being able to talk to the umpire. Why? And of course, Ramos, he's over there smirking, pacing around like an absolute coward. And then Laz Diaz, after things have kind of been, calmed down a little bit, starts pointing and yelling into the Cardinals dugout at we assume, Daniel Descalso, telling him that you're going to go next. Like, why are these umps continuing to try and bait coaches and players? I don't get it. It's still a mystery to me. Like, where were they taught that you should be yelling back at the players and coaches? Like, I've never understood that. And why does Major League Baseball continue to put up with these guys who are clearly terrible at their jobs is also a great mystery to me. Like, why is there a Ramos still in here or a CB Buckner who is terrible? He's just a bad umpire. Laz Diaz, he stinks behind the plate too. Go look at his stats. He's among the worst, along with Hunter Wendelstedt, Angel Hernandez. Like, this particular umpiring crew that was at the Baltimore Cardinals series is one of the worst in the league. And it's not just them. There's a bunch of them out there that just don't belong at this level. And I don't get it. I don't understand why it has to be the way it is. But so Ollie gets tossed. And not long after that, the rain comes again, delaying things about an hour and a half. And perhaps this is to the Cardinals' benefit because they weren't hitting John Means anyway. They only had 1 hit off him so far. Kyle Gibson was already kind of getting close to the end of his rope, 84 pitches through 4 innings. And then when play resumed, the Cardinals get on the board in the 5th after you get a double by Mason Wynn, who's been amazing this year. Newt singles to center. That makes it 3-1. Then in the 6th inning, the real fun begins as the Cardinals take advantage of some shoddy defense by the Orioles for once. Nada leads off, gets a bloop single. Burley pops out, but then Carlson hits what should have been a routine double play ball to end the inning over to Henderson at shortstop, but he ends up kicking it, and both runners are safe. And what did we say before? Good teams will take advantage of those situations. They'll capitalize on this. And right now, the Cardinals are playing good baseball. So right now, they are a good team. So what do? They step up. Brendan Donovan comes to the plate and has one of the most fun plays of the season. Like, it may end up being the most fun play of the year for the St. Louis Cardinals. He rips a 2-1 pitch to the wall in right center. Nato comes around to score. Carlson comes around to score. The throw from shortstop Gunnar Henderson again to home plate to try to get DC goes wide up the third baseline. The catcher McCann, he goes up the line to catch that one. This gives Donovan an opportunity to take third base. He goes over there, sliding into third. The catcher trying to get him at third. He throws wild inside the bag. It hits Donnie, shoots towards the stands. Brendan hustles home and scores. And all of a sudden, the Cardinals have a 4-3 lead. And it was a great call by Chip Carey, who gave the old Little League home run call. And it was fun. It was entertaining. You got Donovan with his wild hair and no helmet flying around the bases, just chaos ensuing. And the Cardinals come out of it on top. They're leading 4-3. 7th inning, you get another home run from Mason Wynn, his 2nd of the season. Rips a laser over the wall in left field for that solo shot, makes it 5-3, which they would need later on. Cardinals have now homered in 10 consecutive games. The team that showed no power for the first month and a half of the season, last 10 games, you got a home run in all of them. But to get the sweep, we finally get an answer to the question on whether or not the Trinity was going to be available. And we find out they were not. So Ollie Marmol calls upon the other guys in the bullpen. You get John King, who throws 2 shutout innings. Kyle Leahy comes in, throws 2 more shutout innings. And then Ryan Fernandez, who did give up a run, needed an incredible catch by Lars Nootbaar in right field. What a game saver that was, because that was going to tie the game up, no doubt, if he doesn't make that catch. Makes an outstanding catch. Cedric Mullins thought it was going to be over his head. Ends up getting doubled off first base. They do score the run, but now you got 2 outs. And you get Gunnar Henderson to ground out to end the game. Picks up his first career save. Cardinals shock the Orioles in the baseball world by completing the sweep. Unbelievable, right? 5-4 victory. And with the sweep, fans are starting. Either the positive ones are starting to speak up more, or some fans are starting to feel a little bit more optimistic about things. So I'm going to share some final stats with you about this series and the games yesterday, and then I'll share some of our fan feedback. And not everybody is over the moon right now, mind you, but a lot of people feeling pretty good. So we'll get into that next on Locked On Cardinals. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. Whether you're into speed, like Brendan Donovan's speed, hitting inside the park home runs, a little league style, or the power of, like, a Mason Wynn, who, hitting bombs lately. Or style just in general, like a Lars Nootbaar. eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, where you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Once again, let me get the website correct. ebay.com/motors. I promise you, they'll take good care of you. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and it's now also available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So the final game, a lot of credit to the Cardinals bullpen. Deservedly so. Again, they didn't have the big three for the final game there. John King, Kyle Leahy, Ryan Fernandez, they give up just 1 run over the final 5 innings to close things out. Heck of a job by them. Well done. Against it's a formidable Orioles lineup. It's not like they were doing this against, somebody like the Oakland A's or the White Sox, who aren't hitting very well at all, or the Cincinnati Reds, who somehow have forgotten how to hit the ball. But instead, against the Baltimore Orioles, one of the best hitting teams in baseball. Mason Wynn, as I mentioned, continues to be a force. He's now batting .295 on the year. He's got a 13-game hitting streak. The Cardinals matched their season high of 3 consecutive victories again. They have won 5 of their last 6 games, 8 of their last 10. It was only their 3rd win in the final game of the 16 series that they've played this season. So I told you, they struggle usually in that final game of the series, but they got it done. And now it's not all roses, okay? Not everything is perfect or anything. Like, we're happy and stuff. But according to Rob Raines at STLSportspage.com, the 9-game streak of committing at least 1 error, which is intact still, is the longest by the Cardinals since they committed an error in 10 consecutive games in 2002. So remember how bad things were defensively last year? We know the overall fundamentals and defense so far this year, they've been very good, right? You're not going to say they haven't been. They're much better than what we saw last year. But we're in a bit of a trend right now where the Cardinals are kind of kicking the ball around a little bit, and they got to clean this up. Their longest streak in the last 100 years is 16 consecutive games with at least 1 error. They did that back in 1975. So we're at 9 in a row. Time to clean it up. Because you don't want to have the Cubs coming to town and then you start looking like the Bad News Bears and throwing it around and kicking it around and giving them any chances to capitalize on that stuff. But overall, fans are starting to feel a lot better about what they're seeing out there on the field. And I'm seeing more positive things in my inbox and on Twitter X, not as much negative stuff. I mean, they're still out there. There's still going to be the trolls, and there's still people who are unhappy. And it doesn't matter if the Cardinals win 20 in a row. They don't like Ollie Marmol. They don't like John Mozeliak. They want him fired, and you have every right to feel that way. But I want to share with you some of the things that some of the more positive people are saying. How about our guy Goofball? Says, I'll remain cautious, but I'm enjoying the hell out of this moment. AJ Sports. Confident for the first time in over a year. I just hope Angry Ollie stays. This is a manager I can get behind, and I can get behind that, dude. Keep these angry birds around, man. I like teams that have some fire. You don't have to be the nice guy every time. Like, who said the Cardinals have to be the good guy in every series that they play? I know we're rooting for them, but you can have a little mean streak in you too. That's okay. Pay says, haven't enjoyed baseball this much since the end of the 2022 season. That was, the Pujols run. Holly says, fantastic, but still nervous for this weekend series. And I get that. TH, I want to believe if we can get above 500, I'll be there. Those last two, a lot of people seem to feel that way. They're not ready. They're happy. They like watching them win, obviously, but they're not getting too excited until this team can reach that 500 mark, which it's been a while since they've been there. And they're not going to be able to do it this weekend unless they sweep the Chicago Cubs, with whom they begin a 3-game series with on Friday. But sticking with the positives, because of this recent stretch, the Cardinals are now 3 games below 500. They're now in 3rd place in the NL Central. They passed the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're 5 games back at first place Milwaukee, 3.5 games behind second place Chicago, and 1.5 games back in the wild card. They're 5-1 on the homestand, which guarantees a winning record during this 9-game homestand, which is something we were hoping for. To at least come away with a winning record in the homestand would be huge. But I think I can speak for everyone when I say we still want more. We want more. You know, the Cubs are going to be tough, and you know how these rivalry series go. Anything can happen. But if you can take at least 2 or 3 from the Cubs, people are really going to start to jump on that bandwagon. And if you sweep the Cubs, some people might be popping champagne. That's how excited they'll be. So I look forward to it. Should be a hell of a weekend at Busch Stadium, and very excited to see it all go down. And obviously you got the City Connects that they're going to come out this weekend too. So a lot of good things, a lot of good vibes going on at Busch Stadium right now. So let's enjoy it a little bit. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. And I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.